everyone, Melissa Crook here, designer for Bello's Designs. Today we're going to be making this card here. I just made this into a panel card, and that way it could be framed. You could also put it on a regular card, but it's using the Toad Lodge, the new fence, of course Pippin, Fairy Path, and some of the new Dandelions, all by Lavinia stamps. The background is made from using a gel press, and I'm using it in a different way. You don't need a brayer today. So this is the card. Let's go ahead and show you the supplies that are needed. First of all, you're going to need an A5 sheet of Multifarious card. I have that sitting to the side and I can't reach. So a Multifarious card and a 5x7 base of your choice. For the background, you're going to need a gel press, and I'm using my 5x7 very well loved gel press. This is not a Lavinia Stamps, it's just a regular gel press by Jelly Arts. For the stamps, we're going to be using the Toad Lodge LAV 686, a Fairy Path LAV 246, Pippin LAV 581, the Silhouette Foliage, and I'm just using the one with the wildflowers. That comes in a set of 2, and that's LAV 683. I'm going to use the Silhouette Grass LAV 680, the new Gate and Fence LAV 752, the Leaf Spray set LAV 741, and that comes, one set comes with both of those. The Leaf Creeper, this is the smaller one of the two, and that's LAV 742. We're going to be using the Drooping Dandelion, this is LAV 754, and the Tall Dandelion with its leaves, LAV 747. So those are the stamps. We're also going to be masking the Toad Lodge, and I've made a mask with the Lavinia Stamps masking sheets. You just stamp onto the surface where you can see the paper. It's clear on one side and paper on another, and then cut it out. I've already done that to save some time, and that's what it looks like. And it's a 2-part, you just peel it and stick it. You'll also need today Distress Oxides and blending tools. And I have Distress Oxide in Mowed Lawn, Squeezed Lemonade, Uncharted Mariner, and Saltwater Taffy. For some coloring, we're going to use the Elements by Lavinia in henna and in graphite. For stamping, we're going to use VersaFine Clair, Glamorous, Shady Lane, Fantasia, Morning Mist, and Pinecone. You'll need your blenders to apply the ink to the gel press. You will need a water spritz bottle and some water and a fan brush. So a fan brush, and then I'm going to use my the size 3 Lavinia Stamp stencil brush. I have a glue pen. I have a Zig glue pen, just a blender, and a water paintbrush. If you don't have a water brush, you can just use a small fine tip brush. I have some jelly roll pins in red and a green and a white. I'm going to use the glitter StarBrights holographic glitter, Ultra Bond adhesive. You'll need a heat tool, paper towels, various acrylic blocks, a paper trimmer, and I think that's about it. So let's get started. Okay, so to begin, I have my gel press here. I just have it on my glass mat, just sticking there. I'm gonna line up my inks. Move that bit. So to make the background, we're going to combine some techniques. We're going to add our ink, add some water, lift off, dry, and then we're going to do a double layer for the background. So starting with the Mowed Lawn, get a little ink on your blender, and I'm just going to rub it across the bottom. And I'm going to give it some hills and valleys. And we're going to do some yellow. And it don't really matter if you get it really smooth. You don't want to have big distinct lines, or you'll definitely see that. And then we're going to come in with our saltwater taffy. I'm trying to make kind of like a sunset colors, but they're also nice summer or spring colors. And then with the Uncharted Mariner, we're going to go around the top. And I'm not pushing real hard on this, just a little. And I'm going to go all the way around the edge with the Uncharted. And now we're going to get our spritzer bottle with water. And we're just going to lightly mist. Quite a bit of water, but just a real fine mist. And then we're going to pull our print. Get a little smudge on this paper, so I'm going to do it. So sometimes I use an acrylic board and put my gel press on there. I didn't do that today. So I'm going to give that a second to lift all that ink, peel it, and there you go. So if you were wanting more of a real light watercolor, turn it right side up, then this would be great, just the way it is. But I like to have a little bit more dimension, so I'm just going to lay my paper towel in there, clean that off. Okay, now we're going to do it again, and try to do it the same color schemes, so green, yellow, saltwater taffy, Uncharted Mariner, in the same order. And I kind of want to have like a sunset effect, so I'm going to just do a real good amount of yellow right here in this squeezed lemonade. We'll see if this will work. I'm just gonna smudge some of that on there. So I'm not doing exactly the same colors in exactly the same place, but close and in the same order. And you can really just kind of like paint your background how you want it on your gel press. And this time, instead of using the water spritzer, let's set all these off to the side. We're going to use our pot of water and our fan brush. Just dip it in, get it wet, get some of those first big clumps off, and tap so you get the bigger droplets and just a little bit less of them. And the water droplets are what gives your background the texture. So, of course, don't know exactly where to line it up, but pretty close. But make sure your blue is on top and your green is on bottom. Give that a good press and a second to soak up. See, that's nice and bright. Lots of colors going through there. Very pretty. Okay, so we're done with this one. Put this away. And you could always add more layers. You could add your stencil. If you're not good with a brayer, it's really easy to just do it with your blenders because you don't have the bleeding. We're going to give this a real quick dry. Okay, so that's okay. So I forgot to mention, but I'm going to use my Lavinia acetate heel masks, and I'm just using this one that's got not quite as tall mountains, but somewhat. And we're going to do that somewhere about there. And we're just going to hold this down. We're going to use the Uncharted Mariner. Nice and dry now. And I'm going to work off of this. Get some of the light off. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is set up with our little toad lodge. Get our acrylic block ready. And I'm going to stamp up the toad lodge in the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. Okay, and I want it to be about on this third of the way, and I'm going to just put it at the base of the green where the grass line ends. I'm going to come in just a little ways. Give room for my dandelions. Good stamp press. And up. Yep, that looks good. Okay, I'm just going to give that a little blot. Okay, now we're going to take our masking sheet here And it's the paper part that's the mask, and the plastic acetate just protects it, so you can reuse it a few times. It's not super sticky, so I don't know. I've used the masking papers a few times for a few different, and they've lasted 3 or 4 times that I've tried each one that I've tried. Okay, so that's covered. Oh, and now we're going to take either a heel mask or a piece of torn paper, and I think I forgot. And the blending brush, or the blending blender with the foam. And just swirl it. And blend down. Okay. Now we're going to work on the fence. And we're going to use 2 little different pegs and stamps here that I have, and we're going to stamp up using the pine cone, VersaFine Clear pine cone. And I'm going to start with the stamp that is going to have a post on the left hand side. Ink up, and I'm going to go just beyond the rock and come over. And the fences are a little different. You can stamp one side and then the other side go in the other direction, or you can do it on either side. And then the gate. The right hand side, or the post is on the right hand side. Then now we're going to stamp using our dandelion, fabulous dandelions. Love the dandelions. And I'm going to ink up in the Shady Lane. Such great detail in these. So ink up, and I'm going to have the dandelion to where the head of the dandelion comes over the top of the roof of the little cottage. Okay. And then we're going to use the tall dandelion. We're also going to ink that up with Shady Lane. And all these Lavinia stamps with the long stems, you can twist your stem, turn them, have them go different directions, however you would like. And I'm going to do it at a diagonal. And I'm going to do one kind of high and then one on each side lower. Bend it. So this time I have it curved the opposite direction. Of course I did that backwards. And I'm sure I've got them on my fingers, so clean that up. Good, press down. And now for the dandelion leaves, and I'm going to use the larger one first. And these dandelion leaves seem backwards to me, but they're skinny at the base and flare out at the top. So make sure you have them go in the right direction. And move into the smaller leaf. Turn that around. I didn't add so many leaves last time. What did I do last time? Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm looking back at my last card and I didn't use any of the leaves there. But I like them, so this is going to be a little different. Which, it's really hard to make two exactly the same. It just doesn't happen. Alright, now we're going to use our silhouette foliage. And we're going to double color this. We're going to do the flower part with the Fantasia. Like that. And then the grass in the shady line. And I'm just going to offset that. And today I haven't trimmed my card yet. Some people trim their card down to size before they start stamping. I just find it easier to just do all my stamping first and trim it at the end. So that's what I'm going to do today. And we're going to add a little going each direction. And one on this side. Okay, and now we're going to add in our fairy path. Sorry if my table kind of gets cluttered. That's how I work. Everything just gets shrunk down. I could start with a clean table and it will be completely a mess by the time I'm done. So for the fairy path, I'm going to line up the last brick with the steps of the lodge. And now we are going to move on to the little foliage. This one is called the Leaf Creeper, and it's the smaller one of the two. I'm going to ink up in Glamorous. And I'm going to take a piece of paper, just a ripped up piece of paper. Excuse me while I get my ripped piece of paper. And I'm going to just put that along the fence line right there. So that way these little flowers look like they're coming up behind the fence and not just randomly coming out of the middle of the yard. And we're going to do these at different levels. And some first and second generations. Okay. And we're going to come back to that. We're going to stamp our leaf spray, which I kind of think they look like spring trees in my opinion. And it's the first kind of a tree looking thing that has a leaf, so I'm real happy about that. And I'm also going to ink that up in the Shady Lane. And I'm going to line this one up just on the side, outside of the tree, or the, excuse me, the gate. So it's going to look like it's in the front yard and the gate is way behind it. So just line that up, give that a good press. And then we're going to use the other stamp from the leaf spray and also ink that up in Shady Lane. Well, this one's going to be a little closer to the pathway and still come up over the gate. And then going back to our creeper and the Glamorous, pick that up. And then we're going to put a few little flowers right by the trunk, if you will. I'm going to mask that off right there. I'm going to add just a few here and there amongst the flowers. And a few on this side as well. Okay. And now we're going to use our Silhouette Grass. Shady Lane again. And then we're just going to go along the very bottom. Now, a lot of this will be cut off when we do our trimming. So if you're not getting the very bottom really covered, that's okay. You don't have to worry about where your lines are. If they overlap, that's great. And then you can do several different heights. Just gonna fill it in just a little bit. And I'm gonna do a little right there. I inked up the wrong side, so I'm just going to move that over. Because I have everything masked off, no worries. And if we want to add a little bit more of the tree tops there, we can do that too. Just to add a little more color. Okay, I think that's enough stamping. Might have gotten carried away just a tiny bit, but oops, that's okay. Okay, now we are going to move on back to project here now. Oh, I forgot Pippin. Pippin. Can't forget Pippin. Okay, so I'm going to ink up Pippin real fast and the Versafine Claire Nocturne. Good amount of black. Now my last one, I had Pippin way down here by the flowers. Looking pretty cute down there, but I've kind of filled that up. And so now this time, I think we'll put Pippin maybe right on the step. How'll that be? That'll be different. Well, nope, that'll be okay. Make him there, it's cute. Okay. And now for some details. We are going to ground our fence. So we're going to go back to our torn piece of paper. And I'm going to just come just above where I have stamped the foliage. I'm going to take some Mowed Lawn and my blender and ever so lightly just come off your torn paper. And I'm just pushing and dragging just like you would your brush. And I'm going to come up just a little bit more. And that just grounds that in so it doesn't look like we have floating grass. floating dandelions and such. Okay, so that's that. And now we will go on with our little cottage. So now we're going to pull off that mask ever so carefully, and we will put that back on the plastic that I have now lost. Well, that's a pity. I don't know where it went. Little things I keep losing. So I'll just push that down onto our glass mat there. And then when I'm cleaning, I will find my plastic. That'll be good. Okay, so looks like kind of a mess, but remember, we're going to trim all that down, so it's going to go away. So don't worry about that. So now we're going to move on to our house in the little toad lodge. We're going to add some color with the graphite. Look there, there's my plastic. I moved it and seen it in the light. But one thing, I'm going to put that back on, actually, because I missed a step. Okay. Put that back on. Take our new little size 3 and just a little ink off the lid. And we're just going to fade that around the back. So these new little brushes, they are great for fine detail. They're very nice. I like them, especially for stencils that have really small details or something that you want to color in a different color. They're lovely. Okay, so now we got a little shadow going, which is good. Place our mask back onto the plastic. And then I put these in with my acetate that comes with the stamp, and I have them in a plastic sleeve that in front of the stamp. So I keep those, so I reuse them as many times as they will allow. Okay, now we're going to take our henna, and if you just push on that, I've learned that you can poke up a little ink and add just a little water with our water brush. We're going to paint in the door. We're going to add some color just to the roof. And I'm just using some drag motion here and let that kind of blend with the yellow. And that gives you a kind of a thatched roof look. Okay, a little darker under there. A little darker under there where the natural shadows are. And then we're going to color in with the graphite. Add a little water, pick that up. Now we're going to add a little to the bricks on the house. And the rocks, the stones. And to the pathway. So for the pathway, I'm going to get a little bit more water going here and dilute that down so we have some more like gray stones. The more water that you have, you'll pick up the color from the background. So then you might want to just kind of dab that off. And I'm just adding a little bit more water here to my lid. So we're going to get that wet. It'll put the gray in and lift some of that green out. And because we're Fine Clair Nocturne that we stamped Pippin in is not water reactive, it is an oil based, you can go right over him and it won't hurt him. Put that there. Okay. Looking pretty okay. And now we're going to add some details to our flowers and to the fence. And we're going to use the white pin first. And I'm just going to go around Pippin's ears, around his tail, just kind of smudge that in. And the fence already has like a highlight area, but you can always add some white in over it. Go around, just adding a little highlight. Add some detail to the flowers. Okay, and then we're going to add with our green Jelly Roll pen. And I'm just going to go around the little leaves. And then with our red Jelly Roll pen, we'll add some sparkle to the creepers, just on the tops. And we'll add some on our flowers as well. Trim it up and mount it, and then we will add the glitter. And so when I first trim, I just trim off the edges. I don't even measure it. I just line it up and trim it off. And then I decide what size it's going to be when I'm done. So I tried to get this to be in as close as I possibly can to 5 3/4 to 6 3/4, because this is going to be a 5x7 finished product. So at the end, I want this to be right at 6 3/4. And you can decide which side of your image that you would like to trim down. And 4 3/4 on the vertical line. So it's real close. I mean, just tiny little scrap. Okay. And now we're going to take our Uncharted Mariner and our blue blending brush, and we're just going to kind of frame in around the edges. Very lightly. And this just kind of brings your eye to the center. So in my opinion, Uncharted Mariner Distress Oxide is so very close to VersaFine Clair Twilight. Like I don't even know if I could show you. So, of course that's wet. If this was just in a little they're just so close. Like, they're probably not. I mean, and this is an oxide, so of course it's got the oxidation effect, but it's really, really very close. And might just happen to be my new favorite oxide. I really like it. It's really pretty. It works really well for sky. It looks good with water. It works well with greens and purples, and yep, I like it. Okay, so got the edges. Going to now, because I don't like to see a white edge on my cards, I just simply take my card and hold it in one hand and drag it across my ink pad. all four corners, all four sides. So probably no way in the world you can see that on camera, but it just fills in that white edge. Just preference, don't have to do that, just my thing. Okay, so now we're going to mount this to our base. So I just have a white 5x7 base, and I'm going to glue it down. Too much glue, perhaps. Okay. And this should give me an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. With using a wet adhesive, you can have a little bit more room to play. And this adhesive, when you put it down, it looks blue until it dries, and it dries clear. Okay, so that's that. Now we're going to take a folded piece of paper and put our card on there. Take our glue pen. And if you have a quickie glue pen, those work. If you have excuse me. Now we're going to just dot on our dandelions and use the glitter. If you don't have glitter, or if you don't like to use glitter, you don't have to use it. It looks just beautiful without it. I, however, do sometimes like to use glitter. Lately I've been using more of just the glitter pins, or the like the Wink of Stella, the Jelly Roll Sakura pins. But for the dandelions, I just feel like glitter. And I just feel like the holographic glitter, it's just, I don't know, it gives it the right, it's like a silver, but then it has the reflections of the blues and the pinks, and just makes me happy. So just a very tiny little bit. And this glitter is not that super fine like the other glitters from Lavinia Stamps. So they're actually, I think, about all the same exact size, round. But just adds some sparkle to it.